So, I mean, we'll start off easy. What is the best heist movie of all time?
Die Hard.
Die.
Why?
It's just great. I mean, it's
A man of many words.
maybe you don't think about it as a heist movie because it's the bad guys doing the heist, and you think of like a heist movie should be the good guys doing the heist. It should be some Legion, or it should be Ocean's 11 or whatever. But I enjoy. Well, I mean, Heat is great. You got Snatch. Like that's a great heist movie, I guess. That's technically a heist movie. But Die Hard is technically a heist movie too, and that's the one I enjoy the most.
Simon's bachelor party was reenacting Die Hard. I outed you now, but yeah.
Just hold this way.
Sure. Yeah. No, but it's I personally believe Heat is the best. We have it. We show it to the team at least once every year. No, we've done it once. Yeah, because we're a cult, a Heat cult. But no, that movie is super good, and I think the sort of tone of that is very close to what we're going for in the next one. Even though it's like a futuristic thing, the techno-thriller, as you said, but like that tone is it's super serious, super. Like it's so, it's the best. I've seen that movie maybe, I've lost track, but I see it all the time, basically. Or like I'll fast forward to scenes and like, oh yeah, this is dope, and then yeah. You want the thing?
I want to think. So, which scene have you seen the most times?
The battle. The gunfight. It's the best. That's all you got to see. And then you're like, whoop, gets you right back into being happy again. It's awesome.
So, what you're saying is gunfights make you happy.
Yeah.
You don't need dancing. No.
Yeah, it's a...
So, I mean, if I remember Heat correctly, it had super intense sound design. So how important is the sound design for a Heat experience?
Well, it depends on if you measure it in budget. It's not that much. But if you measure it in actual importance to the end experience, then I don't know, 50% music and sound. Yeah,
That's pretty high.
40.
Give me that. Okay, so I think every element of a game, including marketing, is like a multiplier of what we're doing. So if you make a good game and you market it like shit, you put the expectations the wrong way, that's a shit game. Or, then you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy this because I love it, and it's the wrong shit, so that's bad. And it's the same with music. Like if you're doing that wrong, then the whole game suffers. And it's, I think, all components are like that. That's why making games is hard, I guess.
Poor thing.
Yeah. Poor me. Yeah.
Games for living.
Yeah, it's so hard. No, but I forgot to say, another great heist movie is of course Inception.
Oh yeah.
That's a dope one, and that's even closer, I guess. Yeah. So if you combine Heat, if Heat and Inception has a baby with Blade Runner,
That's a quote.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean,
You got it now.
write it down.
Quote it.
I mean, as you said, there's multipliers to everything. But could you describe, I mean, you're focused on sound design and the narrative, and you're focused on making the other stuff, like programming and stuff, the things you do late at night, on the toilet. How could you describe your creative process in your respective fields? Ooh, that's a big one.
Okay. So creative process.
Yeah.
I get super manic. So we start off by me being super manic, and then I go like, ugh, and I do some sort of breakdown of the whole game, right? and try to document that in some sort of sane version. So first it's like scribbles on post-its, and I do tables of post-its, and I reshuffle that deck, and then I go, oh, this is a shit game, and I do a new table of post-its, and I keep doing that, and then I go to Hjalmar, and he goes, oh, that's a shit game.
And who's Hjalmar?
Hjalmar is like, I don't know. It's like the closest you can get to my wife in the company, you know? No, but he's very, critical, again, towards my work in general. So it's the best dude to like...
That's the main criteria?
Realistic.
Realistic. Yeah, sure. No, yeah. Yeah, he would say that. He would say it's realistic. No, but so he'll shit on it for a while, and then, that keeps me sharp. And then we'll, keep talking to all the members, all the like core team, and then we'll, move on from that.
Yeah.
Having a big team for 10 chambers is a new thing, so I don't really, back in the day we weren't doing this at all, because you would pitch games, so you do 10 pitches, and maybe one of them somebody would like, and then it wasn't really we weren't really making the games we wanted to make. The only games I've made that's good is when people didn't fuck with it. That's basically it. So we demand a no fuckery situation, and then we can make some good stuff. That's my creative process.
Don't fuck with all from you get a good game.
As good as we can make it, at least.
So have you marinated on that question? Like, if you want to do a really good heist track, I mean, there's people here that love your music from the PAYDAY series. What is your creative process of going into making such a track?
Well, I take part in the vision, and then I sort of like bounce ideas off on Wolf, and then it's like yes, no, and then I start iterating on whatever seems to be palatable.
But is there one sound in a heist experience that needs to be there? Is it like bassy, or is it synth waves, or is it like what's the sound landscape of a heist experience?
I don't think heist is too vague. Like it has to be. Well, the game we're working on is set in the future, so it needs to be a little bit some synth elements in it, because that feels, futuristic, I guess. But it's important not to get stuck in it's a futuristic whatever city landscape, and then you're like, it sounds like the synthesizers from Blade Runner immediately, which a lot of games do. It's a cliche. And Ulf had a nice idea that like, what if you want to reference Blade Runner, maybe not steal the synth sound that everyone else does, but do the saxophone, because that's unexpected. And then we started experimenting with that. So there will be some saxophone in the soundtrack for the next game.
You heard it here first. Saxophone in the next heist game. Saxophones.
Good.
Oh, we have some saxophone lovers in the audience.
Oh, nope.
I love that. Creating the perfect heist.
I have an additional, just to add. He said yes, no. Usually I said, yeah, that's great. And he goes like, it's shit. That's how it goes, actually. It's just, everything he does is pretty dope. Of course you can hit something that's even better, but most of the time I'm like, yeah, go do that. And then he shits on it. That's how it works.
Yeah, and going back to the heist experience, either it's a movie or it's a game, what kind of personalities does the perfect heist team have?
Disciplined people.
Discipline? Yeah.
Yeah. People who can do their tasks in the right order. I don't know.
That's super vague. You've lost all energy by now. Dude, you used to be talkative. Is this Simon? What the fuck? Anyway. Yeah. We need budget, Simon. Come on. No, but it depends on what you're making, right? So if it's a game reference and you have like classes or characters, I guess you can do a lot of different things. But if it's like the personality of the player, the game we're making is more about the player expressing themselves. So it'd probably be more like in the group you are. And then if you want to give the player an agency, it's probably them applying themselves in the way they play it, right? So then it'd probably be more. What?
He gave me a look.
He's like, this guy sucks. Yeah, he's like,
No.
You give me a vague question, you get a vague answer. You're specifying, which is clever.
Yeah.
You're saying like, if it's a good player,
it's because I've done this before.
it makes sense.
Okay.
So basically, my question sucks.
Yeah, your question sucks, man. I didn't want to say that. He said it. He said it first. Anyway, so annoyed. Anyway, where was I before he interrupted so blatantly?
The players.
Yeah. So depends on who you are. I guess that's gonna play differently. You know how you apply yourself. So that's I think that's partly what makes cooperative games interesting, especially the ones you can like sort of plan yourself. You can decide sort of how you're gonna play it. But of course, like I think games that requires a bit of planning and thought will sort of lean towards a certain type of player, and that's probably a player that has a bit more discipline. Back to Simon.
Yes.
Perfect. Would you say that GTFO is a heist game?
No.
No.
It's,
Why not?
It's more of a survival horror experience and a battle over control.
Correct. I'm doing the same one.
Yes.
No,
Elaborate.
elaborate. Yeah. So yes, let's talk about control then, because that's what we're doing. The GTFO is designed around losing, regaining control, basically. And this is almost losing it all the time, thinking that you might, and this kind of thing. And it builds a lot of tension, and designing a game that can sort of create that, the sort of what's it called, ebb and flow of drama, basically, create drama. So instead of just going like and peaking all the time, we try to make something that has those waves in it. And if you compare it to like Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead is a bit more about luck. It's like, oh, we didn't get the big enemy in this sequence, so we survived, and we didn't want to do that. We'd rather be like, okay, well, who's pulling the lever, and then we have to deal with that situation. So it's all about player agency, but mechanically it's similar to a heist game in a way, because we're going in, taking something and going out, and there's a bunch of shit in between. So if you really want to back off, it is similar in that way, and it has a lot of similarities to prior games we made in that sense, but it's sort of an extension of that. And being able to do it more like hardcore and not giving a fuck about what people think about it, really.
Yeah.
Clearly. The game, we could sort of explore areas that's different. So if you remove the thought of griefing from a game, let's say, okay, they might grief, let's say that, but we just remove that, and what can you explore in that sense, right? So that game is really about playing together and, depending on each other, which is different. And I think partly, as the community manager, so this is interesting, I think partly that's why the community is so great. It's because they have a common enemy, and that's the game that hates them, basically. Yeah.
I think we have a question from the audience. If you're brave enough to allow this wild card into the conversation.
Shoot.
I saw your smear.
Hi. Sorry. So, Simon, I have a question for you, since I'm a really big fan of your music, right? And I do think like some of the best tracks you made are always the ones with vocals in them. And I wanted to ask like if your upcoming game has any vocal soundtracks on it too.
We haven't come too far in the decisions regarding the soundtrack, but yes, we're trying to create a world, and there will be clubs and there will be commercials, and there will be like everything that's in a sort of populated world of cities and whatnot. So yes, I believe I will be making some sort of pop music or music with vocals in it. Yes, for the soundtrack. It's not there won't be vocals to the music that you hear when you're carrying out the heist, so to speak. But yes, and I enjoy making that sort of music, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, and going back into the music, I know you work a lot with like layers, that music isn't fixed. It's reactive to what happens in the game. If it's a lot of action, it's more intense and stuff like that. How do you design that?
Yes, indeed. The music has to be dynamic and change with whatever happens in the game. Otherwise, you're not utilizing the medium of games to its potential. So that would be failure on my part. But yeah, there are different ways of doing it. Either you piece together like different sections of music, or you have a piece of music that you divided into like melody and bass, and then like drums perhaps, and then you can sort of remove the drums, let them fade away, and let everything else keep playing. Or you can have a mix, and you got short bits like singers and stuff, and transitions to move between different sections. It's very difficult to make the decisions like what's the best way to play back the music. The challenge is coming up with something that is responsive enough that reacts quickly to what the player's doing, without and still being enjoyable to actually produce. Because once you start splitting up everything into like little short loops and components, it's no fun making the music anymore. Because you can't make a track, from beginning to end. It's like you're making this little 1-bar loop, and you're making the most of it, So I made that mistake a little bit with GTFO, and that's something I learned. That for the next game, I will go back closer to what I did for the PAYDAY games, which was longer loops, which is much more enjoyable from a creative standpoint.
Yeah, that basically answers the questions about your creative process of breaking it down into smaller pieces and having those people being responsible.
Well, not breaking it down to two small pieces.
No.
And also regret.
The biggest regrets. Do you regret being on this live stream with us? Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Nothing.
Nothing? Is there questions that you think I should have asked in this kind of heist celebration scenario?
I have a question for you.
Oh.
I'm gonna make it up as I'm formulating the sentence. What's the greatest part of being a community manager?
I mean, that's easy to answer. It's one of those moments from yesterday, actually, where we had a group of people from the GTFO community. They met through the GTFO community. They played together. They amounted thousands of hours, and they had you guys as heroes. And we had the opportunity to connect those with you and give them some moments with you. And I know they're over there watching right now, because that for me is awesome. Being able to create those moments for people, and feeling that the things we do within the game and within the community connects with people. It connects people. It makes them happier. It gives them something to look forward to. Is that an answer to your question?
I'm doing Simon. Yes.
Yes.
I guess also how is it working with the team when there's always a moving target, or when you're the community wants this and the developers well, I don't give a fuck. How do you what tactics do you employ to get shit done?
I mean, it's the beer. I use the beer. I think we have a mantra within the studio that's under promise, over deliver. And I think sometimes you guys hide behind that. And sometimes I need to like really be a politician and try to sneak my way into getting what I want. I mean, I'm getting better at it. I think like the first weeks I was terrified. I mean, just meeting you guys. But 2 years in, I think I know how to play you like a harp. Maybe not Simon.
Like a fiddle.
Like a fiddle.
Like a fiddle.
Fiddle. Is it
No, harp.
Harp is better.
Is that even a harp?
Manipulate.
That's not a harp. That's a bow. Like I don't.
Manipulate us.
No, more like
Yes.
is helping you understand that you want the same thing as me. Now I shared my secret, so I'm not doing anything to this. I think that was everything for us. If you don't have any more questions from the audience, we wanna.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
We do have a microphone runner. The payday guy.
Thank you. Okay, so I thought of another question. That is, in GTFO, like there was always like these kinds of runs, right? Where you have like certain missions that are like certain things good, and after a while there's another run, and you want to go to the last one, for example. Is that going to be like a thing again?
Okay, so the reason why we kept adding things and removing other things is because the team was so small. So if you keep adding, that just builds a mountain of stuff, and then you can't be creative anymore because you have to back support all the old stuff. So we made that choice very early to say, okay, let's just have like a sliding window of experiences, and then have everybody also play the same thing, because then in the in the Discord and this kind of thing, you're talking about the same thing. So it works quite nicely, but this time we're going to try to just add, but at the same time, probably we'll cycle out some stuff. Just if we're not happy with it, or if it's not tweaked properly, and that kind of thing. And then also on top of that, probably add some mechanics to set the spotlight and stuff. Say, okay, you should probably play this right now. A new release will do that, but also like try to encourage people to sort of get together. It's easier for matchmaking. It's it helps.
Awesome. Other questions?
And I'm just curious, how many tracks will you produce for the game?
Come on, Simon, promise.
Yes.
Well, that's no one knows. No, I don't know. I don't know how many tracks are needed. I don't know how long the tracks will be. If it's a lot of shorter tracks or if it's fewer longer tracks, it's a moving target, like most game development.
I think if you're looking at something that gets constantly supported over years and years and years, that's like an infinite, like that's a hard question to answer. But I think the important part is like add tracks where it is most important. Sometimes
serves the experience.
yeah, it serves the experience, and I think sometimes you keep adding like combat tracks, and I think those probably are the least needed. Sometimes you need that steady pulse. But instead, maybe go for the, we're in a nightclub, we made a special track for that, that kind of thing, the commercials, or this, more fun things, I would say. But we'll see, that's really up to Simon.
Give me a number.
Fine.
We have a saying in our household from the kids when they were small, like
Under promise, over deliver.
under promise, over deliver. No, that was one too many. So everything above 2 was many. So like if they got 2 cookies, that was 2 cookies, but if they get 3 cookies, that was many cookies.
You're a super boring dad. What's that for your kids?
And with that, we don't close it up. No, but talking about tracks.
We have more questions.
Questions? A fellow Swede.
Tjena. Can you promise him a vinyl?
Am I promising the vinyl? It's really up to Simon, but yeah, sure. Promise. How many vinyls do you want?
These two.
Two.
Many.
Pinky promise.
We'll make two.
One too many.
Many. We'll make two.
So that will be the end of this Q&A. Thank you all for tuning in.